Hi, I'm Matt. I'm the clarinetist from Ensemble 360, and had the world not gone upside down with coronavirus, I would be playing at our festival, the Sheffield Chamber Music Festival in the Crucible Theatre for you all. Given that this is not happening, and I'm glad we're all safely staying at home, I'm safely staying at home and playing a concert in my music room for you. I'm going to play Steve Reich's New York Counterpoint. Now this is a piece where you have to pre-record 10 voices of yourself playing and then play along with this tape. So this is in effect what I'm about to do. So you will hear like 11 versions of me. Terribly sorry. This piece kind of, in a way, describes New York. You'll be able to hear lots of different things going on and things coming in the background, fading in and out. There's a bit of kind of quiet relief in the second movement, and then as the composer Thomas Addis says, the brilliant thing about this piece is that you get to the third movement and it starts and it's like kind of New York, you're on the streets of Manhattan. The danger of this piece, because you're playing with a tape that doesn't adjust at all, is that I miscount the number of bars and I don't finish at the same time as the tape. So please be kind in your judgment if I don't. If you've enjoyed this, please feel free to click the link below on YouTube and donate towards Music in the Rounds Festival. You can also donate from a link on our website, on the Music in the Round website, and thank you very much for your future generosity. You're marvellous. Okay, I'm now going to press play. I've got things lined up all around me to film, to record, to play through my ear. So, fingers crossed. Get my first note ready.
everyone, I'm Tom McKinney and I work for Music in the Round as the Sheffield Programme Manager. Now, you've just watched Matt Hunt's performance of New York Counterpoint, and what's quite unusual to think is that Matt, he only recorded that in Sheffield. He's talking to me now just 25 miles away from where I am, and yet it currently feels like the other side of the world, other side of the universe, actually, more than the world. I can't ever imagine traveling 25 miles ever again. But Matt, first off, thanks so much for doing all of this, because as we'll find out, putting that piece together is a hell of a lot of work. But before we get on to Steve Reich and your performance, up until March, up until lockdown, your life was pretty much one that was led out of a suitcase. More than anyone else I know, I think. You were non-stop traveling all over Europe, often even further. So I'm curious as to how these last couple of months have been for you. In particular, actually, how it's been with recording these videos, this kind of switch to making music remotely, digitally, making music not for a live audience. How has it been?
Well, yeah, that's quite, so I've lived in this house for 13 years in Broom Hill in Sheffield. And I think after 2 weeks of lockdown, I realised it was the longest single stretch that I'd actually stayed in this house. And so I'm busting, every day is a new record broken, as far as I'm concerned. And ironically, the day that it was about a week before lockdown was announced by Boris Johnson, I got back here as my kind of life was cancelled. Almost 4 months just went off. And I got back here to discover that my latest purchase had arrived and was waiting for me, which ironically was a new suitcase. But I've actually, I feel a little bit guilty because I've been rather enjoying myself. It's quite a treat for me to be in one place. In fact, it's a huge treat for me to be in one place at one time. And I have been discovering bits of Sheffield, going out for walks, kind of walking to the supermarket a different route every time. I've been going out. I live, it's very easy to get up the Rivlin Valley where I am. And I've discovered things that beautiful, beautiful parts of Sheffield and beautiful bits of the countryside round and about that I didn't even know existed. So it's been quite an eye-opener for me. I've done one live performance, which was yesterday, and I went to a sheltered accommodation place, as a charity that's set up some performances there, and they'd worked out 8 places where I could perform outside of the complex. There's something like 500 flats in this complex, but kind of they're organised round courtyards, and so they worked out 8 places where I could go and play. So I went, and they all came out on their balconies and opened their windows, and it was absolutely gorgeous. It was almost my favourite kind of music making, because I played tunes and they all looked on and began to dance and sing along. And so actually I did remember how much I loved being on stage yesterday.
But what about these videos? I mean, has this been in any way any compensation for losing out on that thrill of live performance? I mean, how does it feel making the video that you just made and the other things you've done for this digital festival at home as well? How's that been?
New. I think you have to kind of you have to use your imagination when you're doing something on video, because when you're playing a live performance, the audience is there right in front of you. You can sense them, you can sense their energy, you can sense the mood of the place. There's so much going on. And of course, with a video camera in front of you and a microphone, there's nothing. So you don't have that to feed from. And then also, because you know that it's going on a microphone and being recorded, your kind of perfectionism kicks in. And so actually it's quite hard work. And so to stop that, really, I have to think about what it means for people, that this is actually the only way that we can communicate through music at the moment. And that actually, when it goes out, the really nice thing will be that we're all watching it together. That I will watch what the others have produced, and we will all be sitting around kind of watching the festival from home together. And that's really what's important. And that even if physically we're not together sharing it, we will be sharing it together at the same time. And I think that's a very, very nice thing to do. We're having a trial run in the Hunt family on Friday, not with this, but all my brothers and my parents and a couple of uncles and aunts. We're all going to, at 6:30, press play on Paddington 2 and watch it together. And I'm playing saxophone on Paddington 2. So that's kind of...
It is a cinematic masterpiece, actually, Paddington 2.
Well, I'm very excited.
A nice link from Paddington 2 to Steve Reich. Very similar.
Exactly.
Conceived in a very similar way. But as part of the Sheffield Chamber Music Festival, you were going to play that piece live in the Winter Gardens. For those of you watching this, not aware of what, not from Sheffield, don't know what the Winter Gardens is, it's just by the Crucible Theatre, and it's what is it? It's a huge public greenhouse attached to the Millennium Galleries, packed with tropical plants, and we've put concerts on there for a few years now. And Matt, New York Counterpoint, it's a piece you've played quite a few times for quite a long time as well. You played it in the 2018 festival in May. Tell us about the piece before we get into how you put this together and the work involved. Tell us about the piece. When did Steve Reich write it?
So the piece was written originally to be performed either with one solo clarinet and an accompanying tape, or for an ensemble of 11 clarinets, or actually 9 clarinets and 2 bass clarinets. I have performed it actually with a clarinet ensemble once up in Scotland at the conservatoire there, but it's most of all performed with a recording. So actually a few years ago in Patrick Vaughan's front room, we recorded all 10 backing parts. It's quite a feat to do. For a start, we didn't actually have any parts, we just had a score, so we photocopied it and we snipped each part out. And I remember Tracy Bryant on her knees, like sticking it all together. But we recorded that, and so you line it all up and you layer it up, and then that gets played either live through speakers or, in this case, through headphones into my ear, and then I play on top. It's an extraordinary piece. It is a kind of minimalist piece in that it repeats the same things over and over again, minutely changing them, and these patterns, they change like kind of patterns on water, almost like if one's watching wave patterns or ripple patterns. They just keep on kind of going in sync and coming out of sync, and then you hear other elements come. So it's kind of multi-layered. So multi-layered with like one sort of music, which is all going bubbling along there, and then suddenly kind of something passes in the background. There's another group of clarinets, and it plays another theme. There are 3 movements, and it runs straight through. The first movement has these kind of elements coming and passing and going. I haven't really kind of got a place in mind for that. Whereas the second movement is it's a bit quieter. It's definitely in my mind, kind of nighttime, while keeping the same tempo. The pulse stays exactly the same throughout the piece. He manages to kind of elongate the meter, so that rather than having lots of quick notes coming in, it's like kind of becomes much more relaxed while the same pulse is going beneath it. And then as I think I say in my introduction to the piece, which you'll have just heard 20 minutes ago, the third movement begins, and as Thomas Addis, the composer, says, the brilliant thing about this piece is you turn the corner into the third movement, and it's like kind of New York is right there, Manhattan is kind of towering above you. It is a complicated thing to do, just quite simply because the moment it's not super precise and together, you're sunk. And the moment that things begin to not line up, it's real split second stuff. I mean, it's literally 0.01 of a second. And all of a sudden, what should be going together in 8 parts goes blah, 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 blah. And you're like, and you can't work out which part to follow. And it's the most dreadful thing. And then slowly trying to work out why it's gone wrong in your editing is quite a puzzle.
Well, I don't want to dwell on this, but I mean, there's original recordings of those Counterpoint pieces in the 80s were done on analog as well. So without any digital, I have literally no idea how they did that. Exceptional performances, those original 1980s performances. But actually, you're on about the complexity of the music, you know, when it's all mashed together. But actually, for us as listeners sitting back and listening to what you've just done, classic Steve Reich, I mean, everything is on the surface so simple. It's just these tiny little musical gestures which are repeated and great. But I guess that, you know, if you're, say, playing Schumann or Mozart or Brahms in chamber music, your kind of conscious engagement at the time must be very, very different in those pieces than compared to playing Steve Reich. I mean, I'm just wondering how your brain is thinking. I mean, whether, because presumably, you know, with things like, you know, Schumann, Brahms, Mozart, whatever, you can sit back and allow things to happen slightly by chance and then respond. I guess that with this, because there's nowhere to hide, you know, everything has to be, and you're on about placed with 0.01 second perfection. I'm guessing that the brain is working very differently in this.
Well, it's working very differently for a number of reasons. I mean, it actually takes me back to kind of Paddington 2 again, because it's the work that is most like being in the film studio, that almost all films that I've done, with some rare exceptions, are done to a click track. And so you sit there, the whole orchestra can be sat there with one earphone over one ear, and there's playing in your ear, and you have to play perfectly with it so it lines up. And so in a way, your kind of personal phrasing, your rubato has to absolutely obey this click track. And this is totally true playing the Reich, that there's no kind of in the moment extending one beat or feeling that you should go this way. Unfortunately, it's laid down for you and you have to do it. I find actually playing New York Counterpoint, my major worry is not losing my place. And so how he wrote it out originally, unfortunately publishers, there's the modern trend of being kind of super trusting of what the composer wrote, and super, you know, we're so kind of, oh, this is the composer put a dot on that, we're not quite sure. And we all have this urtext, this original score, so importantly. And he wrote it out, so he just puts a repeat sign in, goes, repeat this 4 times. Or just writes these signs that they play the same thing 5 times. They print that all out, and it's really complicated, remembering what you've got to play and then kind of keeping your eye on where you've got to be and hoping that you're in the same place as the tape. And in the last movement, trying to remember if you've played something 3, 4, or 5 times in the repeat. And it's like, was that the 5th time? And it's your 2 bars and you have to go on. And there's all sorts of kind of terrifying moments. There are a few checkpoints, But when you finish the piece and you have to like hit the last top G sharp, there's always a slight bit of worry in me that the tape is going to continue and I'll have done a sort of terrific flourish to my top note, and it'll be pride comes before a fall or something. My glory will be short-lived. So I have to like concentrate on different things actually. You have to really keep one eye on making sure that you're playing in the right place the whole time, which of course I don't really ever have to do, especially in my chamber repertoire, because I played it so much and know it so well that I just kind of sit there and play it. And I think about other things. You think about your phrasing, you're trying to work out the internal logic of the performance you're currently giving and work out the narrative of that particular version, because of course it's like sailing any performance of, say, Brahms Quintet is like it's kind of it's like sailing in a boat down the Amazon, that you'd never ever go the same way twice, that the currents are always different and take you to one side of the river or another, or some bits faster or some bits slower, depending on how the river is that day. And you never ever make that journey, even though it's the same journey, but you'll never make it in the same way. So you're concentrating when performing the Reich in a totally different way.
Well, you just said there about your chamber repertoire. You made that distinction between that and this piece actually. But I'm interested in that because, I mean, you were due to play this at the Sheffield Chamber Music Festival. You've just played it for us at the Sheffield Chamber Music Festival at home. I'm just thinking about you, Matt Hunt, playing a piece with lots of other Matt Hunts. Right, this is making sense. Does this come close though, in any way, to making chamber music? I mean, is this playing you at Counterpoint? Does this feel like, in a way, some type of chamber music to you?
I mean, yes, it does, but the rules are much stricter. It's like lockdown has been imposed on me as a clarinetist. And when you're playing New York Counterpoint, for instance, when I was recording it, I remember listening to records and he sort of fades in and you hear clarinetists going ba 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 ba, and it's very sudden. And actually, there was no choice about playing it slower or faster or with more flexibility, but I had absolute choice in terms of the tone color and how I was going to fade in and out. And so, of course, absolutely within this fixed form, I could then make choices. Quite a few of the choices I had to kind of make while I was recording it originally, and remember those choices, but I do remember those choices and wrote quite a lot of them in. So it is like playing chamber music. You do still get that freedom and have to hear your version of that piece, have to work out why you like that piece, what it speaks to you, how you're going to make it speak more through you to the people listening, or in this case, watching. So in that sense, I think it is like chamber music. Of course, you don't, with 10 pre-recorded versions of me, I'm sadly unable to kind of react to the other versions of me. I'm not able to it's not like playing a kind of round the table version of Frisbee where it's kind of, oh, let's play it like this, catch it that way. It's very, it comes straight at you, but yeah.
Look, Matt, it's been great to see you, actually, just personally, just to see you. I've not seen you for ages. Great to hear from you, and I know that so many people are going to want to hear your kind of analysis from a performer's point of view of what it's like to play the piece. Because, yeah, you know, for a listener, it can come across as something very simple, but it's not, is it, at all? I mean,
it's also, the other thing I would say about it is that I think of all somehow pieces to perform, it's quite a lonely experience to stand up there and perform, even though you've got 10 versions of you giving you courage to play it. It is this kind of keeping where you are on the page and doing all of that is a weirdly kind of in your own head and staying in your own head kind of experience, however much fun the kind of piece is.
Well, Matt, I mean, I'm not going to make any predictions of when we will hear you live in concert again, because I guess nobody knows, but we will hear you live again in Sheffield, and hopefully it won't be too far off. And let's see if we can find a way of music in the round, getting you to play New York Counterpoint in the Winter Gardens as we planned. Matt Hunt, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you.
Thanks, lovely to see you, Tom. All right, bye-bye.
Just one last thing from me. Everything that's been made, especially for the Sheffield Chamber Music Festival at home, it's available to you for free. If you can make a donation to help us with things we've got planned for Music in the Round in the future, that will always involve Ensemble 360, Matt, who was the original clarinetist of Ensemble 360. And, you know, Music in the Round, we certainly have got lots and lots of plans. If you can make a donation, that would be great. And I'm going to point down there because apparently in the video description, there is a link of where you can go to donate in the video description below. Anyway, look after yourselves. Enjoy exploring this brilliant digital festival. And from everyone at Music in the Round and Ensemble 360, we will be seeing you again very soon. Thank you very much.